My phone off. We're all set. Do we have a legal counsel today?
Hey, Charlie, when you said you were asking for input, was that what you wanted when I shared with you? Yeah, that's what you were looking for.
Good morning, everybody. It's time to get started. I'd like to call to order our Washington County Public Works Committee for this Tuesday, November 26th. Right now, just a update. We're waiting on legal counsel, but doing two jobs today, so I'll cut them some slack. We run into an issue where we need counsel, we'll wait. But we have no issues with that. We'll get started. Thank you. With that, motion please to accept the minutes from our October 29th. Multiple. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, with that, sewer district, sir, the floor is yours.
Okay, I have one actionable item, two other items just kind of came up. I want to just discuss, they're not actionable. I'll get to them later. The one on the agenda is the mega utility contracts. I believe the county just went through their side of it a month or two ago. There are two organizations. Basically, Mega is the entity that negotiates on behalf of the municipalities, and then they, from my understanding, they bid out the administering of the contracts to two separate companies. Electric is Constellation, gas is NRG. Basically what they are looking for are contracts, whether they're a year or multi-year, and they lock you into a fixed rate. And the idea is you save money in the long run. The numbers that I've looked at for the electric mainly, because we use a ton of electric down to the sewer plant, with the rate it is currently at compared to the rate we were paying, we'll be saving $40,000 to $50,000 per year if we lock in now. I've talked about this with the commissioners. They think it makes sense, at least for the electric. The energy, the gas we've been paying market rate as it is. But like I said, I believe the county just did the gas. I don't know about the electric for 1 year. So basically what I'm looking for is the committee to authorize the chairman to sign any and all documents to lock in fixed rate with energy and Constellation to cut some costs and try to save some money.
For how long?
We could do 1 year. That's what I would like to do. This is a renewal. I should have said that before. The last one was 3 years. If anybody has any insight on whether the prices go up or down next year, but I don't think anybody knows that.
I think we went one. Didn't we go one in our last?
So.
We went one with our last one here.
Yeah.
They usually give you multiple rates and years. Is that what they do with you guys, or?
Yeah. Probably
Yeah,
the
so
same.
this rate was on the 1 year, the 40 to 50K. I don't know the rate for 3 years, but I kind of was following the county's route of going 1 year.
For all the same rationale, yes, sir.
How long have we been working on this sort of program? We're getting we see a savings from what we were paying, but if we went back from the start, we just went market rates, where would we be?
I don't
Because whoever's on the other side of this ultimate transaction is doing a hedge in the electric market.
Right.
And they're making money.
Right.
So we're just taking our volatility away and paying a premium.
Yeah, so I guess the municipalities, because of the bundle, you're supposed to save compared to the market rate, but then, yeah, it also helps budget wise because you know what you're getting into. But yeah, our commissioners kind of the same thought process. Well, we'll be saving this time around because we must have been paying too much last year, right? That's the idea, but I don't know the numbers that were presented last year, if we ended up saving or not. All I know is we'll be saving now compared to what I was paying a couple months ago.
Mr. Shaw.
Yeah.
we were in it before and you're saying,
This is a renewal.
oh, so it's a renewals, yes, so that's saying that we were locked into it last year, and from last year to this year, we're saving 50,000?
Right.
I'm not quite clear on what you mean by that. If we went with them because it's supposed to be cheaper, come to find out it cost us 50,000 last year, more than what it's gonna cost this year.
So the price from 3 years ago till now must have went down, the market rate.
And we were locked into it and got
We were
pulled
locked
down
in.
with it, so.
The idea is it could go back up over the next 3 years and we would double win, I guess, in that
Yeah, it goes-
situation.
Goes back to what Mr. Tall was alluding to.
Right, that's
Reduce
right.
the volatility, but
It's
Yeah.
volatility.
So there
And
was,
predictability.
what did we save off the volatility? We didn't eliminate anything, did we?
You always, in the long run, end up paying something to have a more steady state. But we would have more volatile overruns and underruns in cost if we never.
Well, if you're gonna cost you to do it, is what you're basically saying, but you're eliminating the ups and downs so much. We can afford the ups and downs, so if there's savings by not doing it, then we shouldn't do it. Because we can afford it.
Study that better, but the volatility can be extreme. In Europe, during the crisis, their electricity costs went up 8, 9, 10-fold. And with no end to sight for a while. And they
Right.
came back down.
But we're in for the long haul.
And we have a budget.
Well, I know we have a budget, but you set your rates every year according to your budget. No, I'm just saying in the long run, are we saving money, or in the long run, it's costing us
it
money?
depends. It really does depend on the time you hit the market. I think that's what it is. Mr. Campbell had it.
Yeah, so Charlie hit it right. So we've been doing this for, I don't know how many.
Oh, I know it.
So usually we hit pretty good. The volatility really came with rebuilding the grid with your solar power, wind power and all that. The companies have had to take on a responsibility of buying that electric from all those places. And it's drove the price out of this world when it's over and above regularities, as Charlie was saying. So like in Massachusetts, lots of times it's 40 and 50 cents per kilowatt hour, which is right next door to us. It doesn't make any sense. And at the same time, you lost your nuclear power plant. I think there was the Yankee plant there, and I forget what, 3 Mile Island or something over here. Those have come offline. So the power grid has been crazy. When we did the 3-year one, it looked, fine. But then we just renewed for 1 year because it showed a drop, but we have no way of knowing where it's actually headed. In our county alone, the NICEAG rate is always about a nickel less than the NIMO rate, and we're all in the same county. So how is that even possible? It's just the way it is. I bid my own personal electric at 4 cents an hour on the supply side for 3 years, and this is going back 3 years ago, and now the lowest you can bid is 10 or 11 cents, and if I was NIMO, it's about 18. So that shows you how far off it is, and just knowing the actual price, like Charlie said, if you had 1 month, like during the summer where everybody's air conditioner's running, and you are on that where it's volatile, whatever the market rate is, and it hits 30 cents for a month, when you could have been at 8 or 10 all year long, yeah, you might drop to 4 or 5 once in a while, but in 1 month of 30 could offset everything. I think that's why we did it, to be honest with you. It's because you have to budget a number, and by budgeting a number, you know what that is if you're in a contract rate. So I believe over time we have saved, but it would be fun to go back and actually look.
So you think we've saved over time, and you say over time that there's no saving?
Well, like he said, you
So
have
it's
to prove
two
it. You
different-
have to go back and look and see what the actual rate was over time if you didn't contract.
Well, I think it's too late to do that now. We have to move ahead with it, but is there a way with all of our staff and computer savvy people here to look back 20 years and see in the long run over 20 years, if we made a difference by doing this, or does it cost us?
And it goes back to the Electric and Gas Alliance, this entity that is working on our behalf. I could probably get those numbers from them, because they've existed for a long time, and there are, I don't know, 100 or so municipalities that are all in the same place we are, hopping on into these contracts.
Mhm. I mean, I can see in a homeowner position or a small business where you don't have the backup resources that you gotta plan ahead.
It might be helpful for the next budget cycle, just to understand it a little bit more. You think you can get that data without much?
Yeah, I know, I'm not looking for.
It is a challenge sometimes to get that data, but that's, you know, the 1 year thing, right? If we lock in for 3 years, it's a little bit more
Yeah.
risk reward, I guess. But
Mr. Baker had a question.
We have Constellation and Gravel, and I cannot get away from them quick enough. It is unbelievable. They're double billing us, they're all over the place, but they're right now currently twice what NICEAG is on a market rate. And I'd rather just pay the bill from NICEAG than have this constant fluctuation in their bills. A nightmare.
So, I think we have on the floor here, anyone opposed to saving $30,000 over the next year? Motion to approve going to 1 year. Mr. Malay. Thank you, sir. Second. Any other discussion? Dan?
Well, you say save 30,000 or 50,000?
40 to 50.
Is that over what our contract was with them a year ago? So it is in the market. It's, we're gonna save 50,000 by renewing a better contract with the same. We don't know whether we're saving any money by going with them. So you gotta be careful how you word that.
Well, right now, based on the budget, I think he's saying we're gonna come in at a lower value than what he budgeted for.
Right.
He budgeted at a flat rate, and he's got a lower rate now, so we're realizing savings on the next year's budget already, by going with this 1 year contract. Did I read that wrong?
No, that's right.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
2 other quick items. I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention. I do need a budget amendment to cover the ongoing litigation expenses. I just don't know how much I need right now, so we'll bring that to you next month, but I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. And those expenses are climbing. We're already at our $50,000 that we moved a couple months prior. And I don't know how many people were on the emergency expense email chain, but we had an emergency come up last week with the sewer district where one of our many pump stations essentially blew a hole in itself in the pipe inside the wet well. So the pump station was recycling the water, not forming. So we had to get an emergency contractor in there. I don't have the bill yet. I have a kind of sort of an idea what we're looking at, but I just wanted to make everybody aware that's where that came from. It was a health concern because especially with the rain we're receiving, if that pump station was not operating, the sewage would have to go somewhere else, you know, whether it's somebody's basement or creeks, river. So we had to act fast and get that fixed.
Was the cause of the failure determinable?
Age of pipe, just, you know, hazardous conditions, steel pipe blew a hole in itself. Whether it was preventable, and I don't believe so, and it wasn't one of our higher risk pump stations. You never know when something like that will happen.
When do you think you'll have back functioning?
It's functioning.
Oh, so
We
now
got a repair. I still have the bill yet.
I thought it was the contractor that the bill was for the contractor to keep it going.
No,
No, it's to repair it.
they repaired it. Yeah.
Okay.
Emergency repair, middle of the night. Ish. Any other discussion?
It's the only kind that come in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it never happens in the middle of the day when everybody's readily available.
Exactly.
No further questions for our director? Sure, thank you very much for the updates. Deb, I believe you have the floor. Tim's got a lot of questions for you.
Oh.
Yep. He's
He's
ready.
All right, what do we have up first? Okay, so there is a snowmobile trail. And this club operates this snowmobile trail. And previously it went through a property on Patton Mills Road, and that property was sold, and the new owners do not want it to go through their property anymore. So the Snowmobile Club worked with the town so that they can go down Patton Mills Road. There's a map. It should-
Yep, map and packet and up on the board.
And they worked with, the homeowner, Roselle, down at the bottom of the blue line. But it's going to change where it goes through our property, which is the Fort Ann landfill. So we just need you to be aware of that and approve that we can change it.
You don't have any concerns with it?
Is everybody that uses landfill reviewed it? The only reason I'm saying it, doesn't the sheriff, don't you have a rifle range up there?
No,
I mean,
not at the
I want to
landfill.
make sure that it was all,
That's the pit,
That's Tripola.
oh, track only,
This is-
okay.
like this is like the landfill in your town where it's just there
Oh, you can't.
and we mow it.
Yeah.
Yep. So the pit is different, but Jimmy went up and met with, the Snowmobile Club twice, and they reviewed where it was gonna go, and everything looks good. So, yes, we're fine with it.
We need a resolution on that? We need a resolve on that committee?
Probably wouldn't hurt.
All right, motion to accept the change, Cassie, second by Tim. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Dan, in the past one, we've changed the trail, and we had to do seekers, this is required seekers.
I think it comes through, David, it comes through Ag. Who was about the trails.
I just want to make sure that we didn't leave a bow untied if there was another piece to it.
I'll have to check. This is something I usually haven't done.
Perkins, isn't that his name?
Yeah.
Perkins, yeah.
Yep.
Because I think they'd come in front of us before with seekers when the trails.
Dave.
I don't think Dave's involved anymore.
No, he retired.
Yeah,
I don't have, I don't have the name, new guys. The fact is, the way you're placing it, there was the other trail, but snowmobiles have used that for years. You put a new trail, when you want to put it now, because snowmobiles go over there for years, it was off trail. I guess for lack of a better word. That brings up a good point, though, you'd hate to get in trouble over something that doesn't amount to anything. We had to do seeker one time for letting the road grow up to trees. We didn't do anything, the trees grew on their own, but, yeah, we got a lawsuit for that.
So I guess who would be responsible to initiate the secret?
I think Dan will find out if one's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and find out whether we bet it was a lady, was it, it's the new head of the.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He brought it to the last meeting he was at, so we have to probably reach out to her and make sure they've got their ducks in a row.
Rockman?
And we did one back in April.
Yes.
For the
Rockman, I
trails,
think.
I'll see if it's. I know we did one then.
All right, if we gotta bring seeker, we'll bring it to the next committee. Okay.
Next up is the resolution that was passed at, New York State Association of Counties that we brought last month to have you look at.
Did everyone get a chance to read that?
Yeah.
There's one, I think, one adjustment. Want to cover that?
Yeah, so.
Whereas.
Yeah, so our legislative rep at the County Highway Superintendents Association suggested that we add the whereas that's on the last page. So that just addresses the fact that when this resolution was passed at NISAC, it was supposed to be implemented on January 1st. But DEC wrote a letter saying that they gave us a temporary relief for model year 25 and 26. So it just kind of acknowledges that this is not going to happen January 1st.
Accept that here, there's
To move to full board, I believe,
Yeah.
next full board meeting.
a motion, we do that with the corrections as submitted.
Lance has a motion on the table. Do I have a second? Cassie, thank you very much. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
You may recall if you were here in 2023, which was last construction season, that we had a bridge on County Route 74 that we wanted to do, but we didn't get to do it because we were not gonna be able to get out of the water by the DEC deadline. So we moved that project to this year, and I'm asking to roll over the $60,000 that was associated with materials to cover that for this year. So
Motion to roll over.
Move with money for fixing the bridge next year,
for this year.
for this year.
Tim, second by Charlie. Any other discussion on that?
This is in the town of Easton or a different town? That's 74.
That one, I think, last year's project, I think this year's project's back to me.
Is it?
Yeah.
So this is the one that was by Easton Station Road that we did this summer.
Yeah, I know this
That's
number.
yours,
What
yeah.
have you got going for next summer? That's what I was curious about, bridge.
Next year is down by,
Where's their
It's in
number?
Cambridge. I saw it on the paper. You said you were back to Cambridge, but you give the C1 numbers and I don't know where those are.
I can make a map of it next year.
I
Down-
thought you were
down-
finally done with us. and
Down
these
line?
did, but you're
Is
back.
that bridge is down line? Or is that a new bridge there? Down past South Cambridge, Grange Hall. Is there a bridge down there?
That's all been paved.
Where's the bridge?
There's a lot of bridges. They've been down there forever.
I know it.
Any other discussion on the motion to roll over the dollars? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And then one other thing, we got the results from the last auction, and the total sale was $15,500.
Ooh, making money. Al, you good with that?
I was good with money, sir.
All right. Any questions about the auction? You have to accept anything there? No. No, I don't think so. We had to vote to go to auction. All right, before Deb jumps up and runs away, any
We got
issues
me.
for her? Any issues to be brought forward to the committee for Public Works?
We have to say that 3 times.
Negative. Very
Happy
kind.
birthday.
Very adjourned. Brilliant.
All right, well, happy
I'll call the public safety meeting to order. First up is to accept the minutes from October 29th.
So moved.
Moved by Daryl, seconded by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. First up, public defender. Step right into the hot seat.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
So the first request would be we received 2024, we received two 2024 DCJS grants, each for $111,000. So we have $222,000. I believe that the county has not recognized that grant yet as revenue. I would request that we do move it to the public defender's office, absent whatever portion the assigned council office needs, so that we can start spending the grant. And this is the 2024 grant. I know the assigned council office is going to discuss it, that they're looking for a copier. And I've met with Terry at Information Technology about software and hardware upgrades that we hope to spend the money on. And I don't think, even with what we're talking about, we will spend the entire 222.
I'll make the motion to.
Moved by Daryl, seconded by Jim. Brian?
Is there anything that you're currently doing or have done that it would pay for?
I think Terry maybe has already made software purchases and hardware purchases that would fall under the grant. The first 111 is for reimbursement for discovery expenses. The second 111 can be used for miscellaneous expenses.
We'll discover more if we need to.
Right. We'll discover all of it.
I mean, I guess it's really an accounting drill at this point, right?
Well,
2024.
according to the rules.
Right.
of the grant.
Yeah, through March 25, actually.
We'll need to know how it's to be allocated in order to recognize it. So I need a spending plan in order to do a budget.
You gotta know which part goes to assigned council, you mean?
And then we're gonna have to roll over the unspent in the 25's budget. So
Right. But I think we have to roll this to finance too, right?
this is going finance.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah. So by then we should have that all sorted. Maybe.
I can get,
Sounds good to you.
it's kind of in limbo right now, and I don't think we can spend it. And if Terry needs to make
Right,
a purchase on the software, then I just want her to be able to.
But the
Sorry.
earliest she would get budget would be December 20th, so that gives her a pretty small window to order things.
Right.
We can do that. We just need to know by finance.
I will follow up with her as soon as possible,
Brian and I can meet with you if you need to.
and I can follow up with.
and if we got till March, even if it got rolled over, we can.
But we'll definitely, some of it will definitely be rolled.
Maybe all of them, no.
So that was the first
Oh, wait
issue.
a minute. Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next.
I don't want to bore you with the history of the ILS funding, but we've been receiving, we're up to distribution 14. The distributions is the method that ILS uses to take the state money we've always been receiving and give it to us with strings attached. If you go back before the Harrell Herring lawsuit, we just received state money. We could use it any way we want. It went into the general fund. You can buy it any way you want. When ILS was created, they converted that to these distributions that give us the money, but put the strings or attach the strings to it. That's the history of it. And what it is there was a distribution every year for a 3-year contract. So we had we always had 3 contracts overlapping. ILS is changing that to where they're going to have 1 3-year contract, and then there won't be 3 overlapping contracts for 3 years. The point of that is that distribution 14, which is the distribution we're up to, is just going to be extended to a 3-year contract, and there will not be a distribution 15. That's just an update, and it's a change in the method they're going to be using to fund us. But it doesn't change the dollar amounts, or what is already, the money's already contracted for at this point.
Dan?
Did I hear you say there will not be a 15?
There will not be a distribution 15.
So was this over at the end of 14? Is that what you're saying?
There won't need to be a 15 because 14 is now gonna take place of the 3, instead of having 3 $29,000 contracts, they'll have 1 for the full amount.
Right, but
And there may be a distribution 15 in 2 years, but,
oh, you're just saying there's not gonna be one next year.
right, I'm sorry.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
But when you said there wasn't gonna be one,
the process
that's the end.
of having the annual distribution is going to stop. They're going to turn into 3-year distribution to avoid the overlapping contract. The last point, I spoke with Indigent Legal Services about the investigator position that we have budgeted. I explained to them that 1, the attorney's preference is independent contractors, and 2, that we don't want to hire a position that's not fully funded. They understood that position. They want us to hire a full-time investigator. So we're going to continue to discuss how to fully fund it, even if perhaps a balance of the DCJS grant could be used to fully fund the investigator position. But that's just an update. There's going to have to be further meetings with ILS about allocation of funding to fully fund an investigator.
What was the cost of a fully funded investigation?
That's half of the problem. We don't really know where we're at right now is they've just said, we will give you $50,000 toward a full-time investigator to offset the cost of a full-time investigator. And I mean, we know it, we didn't even determine what we haven't created the position, so we don't know what grade it will be, what pay it will be, and then we don't know what fringe expenses would be.
The civil service doesn't designate that, what the grade will be, and
They may, but we haven't gotten to that point yet. They certainly will, but we just haven't, we're a stage before that.
Okay, Melissa,
I
who's
think you
first?
just clarified or answered my questions. So
Okay.
before it was contracted, it was gonna be up to that amount you had to spend, and now it's gonna be a full-time position that would have to be on the county payroll.
Right, they did used to just give us 50,000 and we could spend it on
Okay.
independent contractors. They wanted us to hire a full timer. It did get into the budget for this year, but just as 50,000 offsetting the hiring of a full timer. But we haven't created the position or rated it.
So I thought in our past discussions, I understand that they're saying they want you to have a full-time position, but I thought you in past discussions said you really didn't have a need for a full-time position in that role. So
I
they want
did,
you to
and
create something
or a
that-
preference for it.
Right, so they
but
want us
they-
to create something and pay for something that we don't have a need for.
I don't know that they believe that we don't have the need, and I think it's really a philosophical position they have, that they believe if we hire this investigator, we will realize that we needed it.
But they're paying for it.
Basically, they're saying if the DA's office has one, you should have.
Now,
Right.
we're all paying for it with our tax and convention, so, you know, it's not they're paying for it.
I mean, the 50,000, how long do we know that's gonna go for? That every year we get 50,000 supplement this position they say we need?
Well-
Well, as soon as we get a position there, they'll just kind of back out and then we own a new position.
If it's like any of the other positions that they're funding, it just continues. Many of the positions in the public defender's office have been created through newer funding with ILS. And these positions that they've created, they continue to fund and contractually are obligated to fund. So if we were to create the investigator position based on their promise to fund it, I don't doubt that they would continue to fund it until the state goes bankrupt.
Brian?
Yes.
Well, in all fairness, we're getting upwards. We're now close to $2 million with this new funding coming through the public defender's office and assigned counsel. And really all it's doing is making us spend more in the DA's office or the sheriff's office to match up with all the things that they're paying for.
Well, I would still say you're spending more in those two, like, the spending here has only been to equal the spending of the other side. It hasn't been to exceed it.
What, how would we get, so how would we write? How would we actually write for the position? For everything that's illegal that you've now created equal, we're gonna make an investigation to decide whether it's legal or not. Because that's how far our bail reform has gone. Nobody's guilty of anything anymore. So why are we creating all these positions to investigate everything that's no longer illegal?
I would
And this
suggest
is
you go
nuts.
to county court on Friday, and you'll see that there's plenty of people that are still being convicted of crime.
Yeah.
So
but
it's not
half what
accurate to
should-
say bail reform is not causing people to still be found guilty of crime. And I'm not saying it doesn't have its own problems, but that's not exactly an accurate statement.
I'm just concerned with right sizing for the demand. We don't have a full-time position worth of work throughout the year is what I think what I'm hearing. we can pay for the work that's necessary through a contract, save our residents pay state and county taxes, some money. I just think we're oversizing, build it, they will come, maybe it might be that concept.
Yeah,
build it, they will come.
look who's gonna come.
Yeah.
Why don't we build the other stuff?
Right.
Well, I've resisted this, right up to this point. So I mean, we can continue to resist it.
No, I appreciate that.
I don't think they've just indicated their preference would be that we do this and that they are willing to discuss modifications in the allocation to fully fund it.
So is there an opportunity, if we only need to have one, is there an opportunity that Warren County only needs half one, that we can do it together and totally be funded?
That's a possibility. I haven't, that
I mean,
sharing with Walt Warren County hasn't come up in any of my discussions with ILO.
but I mean, why is everybody paying for half and create a full position? If one position would do it all, it would make more sense to me.
Just remember, two Warren counties that are Huron County.
And I thought ILS said that we warrant a full-time position, right? Just Washington County alone, they're saying really should have a full-time position.
100%.
With Great Meadow gone, that may not be true.
I think our department head said that it's not.
Right.
Right? He
I
said. he
think
doesn't-
you're arguing
We had a
against
lot of
what
cases
Mike
that
already
came
said.
before Great Meadow, and with Great Meadow gone, a lot of those cases have disappeared, so let's get up with the times there, state.
Well, I think we can trust Mike to keep moving and arguing the position that we've all stated, because that's the position he's been stating right along.
Yeah.
He's Not saying he agreed with it, this is where he is an update on the negotiations, where he said
Okay.
repeatedly that he doesn't think it's
Yeah,
needed.
and I mean, we can continue
Well,
to
Rural Hearing
resist.
started out of an incident at Great Meadow, so with that gone, all those cases are gone.
But again, that's the same argument, it's basically the same thing, Mike is taking the stance that but he's in negotiations, and this was just an update to tell you that they rejected his first plan, so now he's back at it again.
And they didn't really reject it.
They
They
just
just,
want
their
to modify
preference
it.
would be, can we
That
find a
might-
way to hire a full-time investigator? I can report back to them that I've had further discussions with the Public Safety Committee and that the committee's not very excited about hiring a full-time investigator. And we can move on to something else. So they tend to forget things and go in other directions.
Oh, sorry, Al, I didn't see it.
Mike, and if I heard you correctly, if it worst case scenario and they really stick to their guns on the position, did I hear you say that they are willing to discuss reallocating some of the underspent money, so maybe it could be 100% funded?
Yes, 100%. And I think they understand, and this has always
So
been.
worst case, we might be able to move money within the lines.
I think we're in good shape on this whole issue. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to bring you up to speed on where it's at the moment. Is that historically, we've always maintained that unless you fully fund a position, we're not going to create.
Correct.
So, and I think we're covered on this, and that there's no doubt the 50,000 they've allocated for the full-time investigator would not fully fund it. Therefore, we do not need to hire a full-time.
My best guess is 85 based on what we pay the DA's investigator. I mean, that's salary and fringe. Around 85 to 90.
But we don't know the hours, we don't know the title, the grade, et cetera. So there's a lot of unknowns, but I think I will go back to ILS and explain to them our position, and we'll try to move in a more productive direction with the funding.
Yeah.
With the 50, maybe it could be allocated to one. I think right now it's dedicated to hiring the full-time position. It could just be what we spend against the independent contractors.
What would this investigator do?
Well, not having an in-house investigator previously, we would have to plan that.
Do you have any idea?
I know that they do what the independent investigators were already doing, which is making contact with witnesses, reviewing discovery.
On behalf of the defendant, correct?
Yes,
So we would be providing funding for an investigator to make determinations on guilt or innocent information related to the charge of a defendant.
Yes.
State taxpayers do that.
There's already there, just for instance, Essex County has had an in-house private investigator for the defense for years.
But presumably, it's not just limited to the criminal actions, it would be family court actions also,
True.
which would be both custody,
However, with
child protective, et cetera.
with Harrell Herring, I'm not, and with ILS right now, I'm not sure they have in mind that we'd be using it. I think their goal would be to have us using it in the criminal matters.
And so these positions exist on the prosecution side as well? Yeah.
We have a part-time guy, that's what Al hires.
Which is more than I've got. Which is more than I've got.
No, but I'm just saying.
You have a
our
part-time
guys,
person?
He's part-time.
Okay.
Well, but where it's an apple and an orange is, he has all of law enforcement.
Oh. yeah.
I mean, he has the state police, the sheriffs, the
No, I get it.
village PD.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, they're an apple and an orange.
Well, he has built in.
Yes.
I got it.
And really, it was, an update. I think there's a way we can, further discuss this with ILS and move in a more productive direction.
Yeah, don't get our questions, you're doing a great job, Mike, don't get our questions, misinterpreted in the wrong way. We're trying to wrap our head around this, defining a position just for the sole purpose of because they want to, or there's no true need for a full-time equivalent, we've got trying to get our head around that. If we're gonna have a full-time equivalent on the JOB, then then they need not restrict how they're being utilized. Back to our council's point, there's a lot of work out there that can be done. And they, defining what that position does, then we're gonna open the aperture up. This would be my standpoint, right? If we're gonna get kind of pushed into creating this position, and that position is gonna be defined by us, not by just that,
Understood.
right there.
And we could absolutely use such a position with the family court caseload, but I don't think that's actually what ILS had.
David?
What was it?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
see, read my mind.
I don't know.
Read my mind 2 minutes ago. I lost it, I'm sorry. Sorry about that.
Brian will remind you.
Well, you never know. So Mike and I actually, we attend these, he usually invites me to these ILS meetings, and so we actually get along real well, work together well. But they do come up with some nutty ideas but they believe in it. They actually believe in it.
That's kind of where
And
this.
they will tell us that you need to take this money and spend it so we don't get caught. I mean, they'll be like, it's not a good situation for any of our citizens to stay, but it's kind of what they're pushing and they're able to.
You remember,
So if we didn't do this, what would happen at the state level? What would they say to us?
Frankly, I think, okay,
Oh, really?
yeah, I don't know that they would, they're not going to draw a line in the sand on this.
And here's why I ask these questions. In audit, I seem to see the same names month after month after month receiving public defense. Does that make sense?
Are you maybe the assigned council attorneys?
Yeah. I apologize, maybe that's.
Yeah.
I guess my question is the same cast of characters month after month after month. Do they have a right to investigative work? They have a right to counsel by federal law, but not a right to investigate. If you're going to continue down these paths, and
The
utilize
assigned-
public service for your legal defense, to me, there should be very limited options to them, and I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way.
No, so the public defender's office presently has the availability of independent investigators. This is funded by ILS through our company. The assigned council attorneys, I should have that same option. I'm not sure if they do or not, but I mean, to answer your question, a criminal defendant has a right to counsel, and if counsel is going to do its job appropriately, counsel should utilize an investigator when council needs an investigator. So the assigned council attorney should be utilizing investigators if the situation warrants.
I like the way you think, but New York State doesn't want that.
Well, I know, but at some point, we do have to change the way the state operates because
Absolutely.
it's circling the drain. This is another example.
It used to be assigned counsel, if you had it, if you wanted investigative services, you had to make an application for it. Get it, if you were not the public defender. Which, you know, you'd have to come up with what you booked, what's an amount, et cetera. You know, I kind of understand the philosophy of, you know, you want to make sure everybody gets within reason, same resources for the same quality of representation. But you know, I understand what you're saying as well.
Scott,
I guess I don't understand the difference between the two of you. What's the difference between assigned counsel and public defender?
So just a basic example, in family court, a husband and wife come in, we can only represent one or the other. And then the other party would have to be represented by these, say, the assigned counsel. Or two defendants in a burglary, we can't represent both defendants, we can only represent the first defendant, the second defendant, we go to the assigned counsel. And this is presuming they are indigent and qualified for indigent legal service.
any other questions?
But most of this county qualifies for indigent legal service on the new standard of what makes you qualify.
Okay. I don't see any more questions.
It's not just income. No. It's income actually is just one of the factors. And
Okay,
it's
so now I'm fascinated. I have one question.
well, no, it's really ability to obtain the counsel that you need in the circumstances that you are in.
Okay. So it's not just income. It could.
Not just
Like,
income.
I'm just curious, what's another example of a rationale where you would need indigent legal defense, but not income based? Can you give me one?
I'm not sure what it,
I'm not sure what I'm asking.
well, I mean, it's just not income. It's, it's not your gross income as it used to be either. It would, if your net income, if you have no money left on the net analysis, you would also, even if you make $200,000, but you have 10 children.
And you know.
That you know of.
I mean, I
More accurate than you would know.
but I can share with you there are standards of eligibility that have all been modified. So Tom can discuss that too, as far as the qualification for counsel, but income is not.
So what did you learn today, Mike? It's not good to be first on the agenda. It's better to be last.
No, I'm having fun. Never question.
Any other questions for Mike? Okay, have a better day.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
All warmed up.
So first.
I call this up.
I can clarify the income standards for you. Basically, it's based on the income of the individual, not the household income. So if you're the husband, when you're making 50,000, and you're the wife, and you're making 200,000, that 200,000 doesn't come into play when we're considering this for signing counsel. The other thing, there's guidelines, basic guidelines. If you have X number of kids, the amounts this or that. And if you're over the guideline and you don't have money in the bank to pay for an attorney for a reasonable amount of money it would cost for whatever case you have, whether it's a family court case or a criminal case, then you can still assign. And that's like the next level. But on our application, basically, we ask if you're on public assistance and probably 85% of the people are, and that's as far as we go. When you qualify.
85% of the people utilizing your services are public assistance.
Not on public, I shouldn't say on public assistance, but they qualify. I will tell you this, and each year I'm here, we probably reject 2 or 3 people. And that's it. Yeah. It's almost everybody qualifies.
Thinking about committing a crime now?
They've raised the guidelines. You can be making a lot of money with qualified.
No, I just keep, I go, and I don't sound like a broken record, but I see these audit reports and you literally see the same names month after month after month. It feels like they maybe have this.
Well, the panel is also very small.
Right.
The panel of attorneys that will do assigned counsel work, they're,
Small.
it's not that many. It's the same thing with the attorney for the child at this point.
Yeah, but that's all the checks go to is to council.
But you have to keep in mind, family court, there's no filter at the gate. You can go in and say, you know, your wife killed Kennedy, I want custody of my kids, and they'll take that petition. And we'll assign an attorney, Mike's will have an attorney, Mike's people will be involved. You'll maybe roll out 2 or 3 people on 158 now on nothing, something frivolous. And family court is really killing us, to be honest with you.
How's that so?
Big number of cases. And the time.
Any other civil action, you gotta pay a filing fee and a significant filing fee. And I've said for years that if you put a $1 or $2 filing fee on a family court petition, you would cut the filings by 2/3.
That
No,
much?
that
Just
much.
That little amount.
I would dare say that's correct.
And the state thought about charging $10 and the legislature just wouldn't go along with it. A lot of money coming out of the time.
The state,
We're lucky this ILS pays a lot of it. You know, I mean, on the
the
criminal,
state pays a lot, the state taxpayer pays a lot.
on the family court end, sure. Sure. Not on the criminal end, ILS pays a lot. And back to the investigators, we have $50,000 from ILS for investigators. And we're fine with non-contract based as well. We couldn't have a full-time investigator. Because if you take in multiple defendants, that investigator couldn't really act on multiple defendants. Yeah. So we're way better off than contract guys. There was no benefits or anything. And we have quite a few of them that are really pretty good. And we don't want to send the attorney out, take statements and do that kind of thing. It's cheaper to send the investigator out. I was gonna say, the investigators are around $100 an hour, the attorneys are 158, so it just makes more sense. Some investigators and attorneys.
And it's often we have multiple defendants.
Often enough, yeah. What happens with Mike's people, everything circles around. You know, so if you're through the system several times, then they'll have a conflict and it has to come to us. You know, so it's just so when you do like Dan says, there's a limited number of attorneys that want to take this stuff on.
See, that's my point on this. Creating an investigator, you're gonna get to the point where there's conflict. All right, now you got somebody sitting down there with about maybe 3 hours work in a day. We're paying somebody to do 3 hours of work. That's total inefficiency.
Exactly.
Darrell's gonna run our government efficiency office at the county. I think it's a great combination. That's a great point, Darrell.
Look, if we also would believe that we would cut down cases just by charging $5 for filing, why are we precluded from charging that $5?
Because it's the state that runs family courts, not us.
But to get into our door or something, I mean, is there no other way?
It's the state runs the court system. They decide what they're gonna charge or not charge.
Pardon
You don't know who's here to go to court and who's not.
Blacktop repair fund at the same time.
So anyways, I'm
Paying
here.
for a copier.
But I'm going back to, yeah, it's state money. I pay that too. Oh, hey, there's no difference to me, it's
Exactly.
taxpayer dollars.
But they've given us, your super majority is set. the
Oh, I
standard.
understand that.
Exactly.
but
It's not his fault, and
I'm
he
still-
understands it more than most.
I'm still complaining on the fact that, we're being forced to spend money with no control. And I have to contribute to it. That
You're
kind of
absolutely
irritates me.
Majority killing our
We
state.
are they.
Yes.
They are killing our state.
I mean, you can look at it like this, if we didn't have the state money to buy the copier, then the county would have to pay for the copier. And we have to use the money. So why not buy a copier?
No, I'm not arguing that.
Any questions on the copier?
No, you're good with the copy.
Al,
He's gotta wait, that's part of the money that might just move the fence.
Exactly.
Tell Mike to hurry up.
And the second part, we have the Upstate Family Defense Grant, and we just want Al, we talked about this, we just want to create two appropriation lines, one for the intake clerk and one for the vouchers, so we can take that money and use it to pay for the vouchers and use it to pay for our part-time clerk.
We need to move that to finance.
moved by Scott, seconded by Daryl. Any further questions? All
Just
in
one
favor?
quick, Al, does this simplify accounting for him?
Yeah, this is just a budget amendment to recognize the grant lines, so that's nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come on, Sue.
Thank you for educating us.
You're not looking forward to it?
Sort of feel better.
I just have an informational item, that's all though.
Just information.
Just information.
That's
It is a grant fund
Something else.
from DCJF, a state fund that we did receive. So that's just notification that it's executed or will be an executed contract starting January 1st, 2025 for our ATIE task program. And the award is 157,417, which the majority of the funds go to personnel, fringe, and our carpool expenses. And in January, I will be coming back. That's where I will ask for gas cards for participants' family for a total dollar amount of $2,000 that would come out of this grant. So it's just an informational item. I did receive, however, the state does track recidivism rate for this program. They're always a little bit 2 years behind, but in 2022, arrested within 6 months of those that completed the program was 3%. Arrested within 12 months is 8%. And then they're very much behind on the arrested within 24 months. So that goes back to the 2021 numbers, and that's 24%. And she roughly has about 36 people that complete the program in a year. So it's fairly decent recidivism rates for this program. And that's all I've got.
Any questions? Cheryl?
Sorry about all the questions.
No, that's fine.
Shut up.
I know, it's kind.
So every year you asked to buy these gas cards.
So we have, when we initially, this is the third year of a 5-year grant funding kind of cycle for this program. So every year, at the very beginning, when we initially rewrote the grant, that was part of the budget of what we put into the budget. So every year I do come to ask to do the purchase of the gas cards, which is in the budget that was approved by the state, if that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
And thank you for that. The only reason why I'm asking is because if it's already approved.
Yep.
As an acceptance, is there a need for us to approve at the committee, I guess? Or is this just a courtesy check or?
I don't know.
For it, I think it's always been done.
It's always been done, so I just was.
I don't think it is in the voucher policy.
I think one thing that's really good about that is you hear about it. If that kept happening and somebody comes up to you and bought them, so do you really pay for gas cards for this? You've never heard of it. You're like, oh, geez, no, that's not. That's why this is important, is that we understand what we are collectively doing.
There may have been some abuses in the past. The board wanted to kind of know when those things occurred.
It could be brought to committee more of a just informational, if you didn't want to, if you didn't see the need in actually approving it at committee for her to go forward, we could just do it just informational.
Item.
Yeah, hey, just letting everybody know, we purchased our 150 gas cards for the purpose of this, in accordance with the plan and the program and the grant.
And you kind of, she runs the plan by you now, so when
Right.
you approve the plan, you kind of in essence have already approved
The gas
the
cards.
gas cards.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with that.
You
Yeah.
kind of already have.
Just, and the point is more not to slow you down in terms of executing a plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that
Good with it
efficiency
either way.
committee again, Mr. Hope?
Mhm.
There's our man.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's getting easier, Sheriff. Be optimistic.
Warm
I've
up.
heard that before.
Another hour, we're gonna be done.
Maybe it's just the things you bring.
I was told when I took off, the place ran itself. I have two things. One is a burn grant, BYRNE, Justice Assistant Grant through DCJS, $33,000 from the state to purchase a TrueNarc device. It's a pretty interesting instrument. We've been trying to get one for a long time. It'll identify whatever kind of drugs you have, even in a container. Just put it in this device, somehow it magically tells you exactly what it is. Especially important fentanyl, because deputies, don't handle that. If they come across anything that could possibly be fentanyl, for instance, this device will tell them whether it is or isn't, whether it's Oxycontin, whatever.
Sure.
I'll make the motion to accept and. Second.
It's $33,000.
How many would that get you, sir?
One.
Just one?
Yeah. Yeah, they're about half the price that they used to be. It's when they first started making these, which I remember hearing about probably 6 years ago, it's probably less than, or more than half the price, because I think they were around $90,000, I want to say. Nobody had one.
Would that remain central location for use, or is that on
Yeah.
the road?
That would be our office.
So
It's not mobile. so
it's not mobile.
I don't believe so. There may be, the technology might have changed, but from what I remember, it's not mobile.
Al?
Sheriff, will you need the ability to pull the trigger on this before the 20th?
The company will accept an order without a PO or voucher or whatever, so I think we're good, if that's, makes any sense.
So you're okay? Just, I want to make sure the committee took action for you.
Yeah, we were concerned, I mentioned that we were concerned because the company told us that the price of these is going up in December. So I was looking for the authorization to purchase it prior to December, but we can order, it's been signed by the chairman, the grant letter and accepted and everything, so it's,
Okay.
yeah. But I guess they'll accept the order date now. It's
Just want to make sure if you need anything from committee, we got it for you. So.
Thank you, yeah. And then we'll just, when it goes through committee, and there's a resolution, we'll give them the PO.
Okay.
Nate?
Just out of curiosity, will this device will save money and not sending drugs out for outside testing for a court case?
No, we still have to do that. This is, I don't believe it is, I don't believe it would be recognized by the courts as certification, like a laboratory. We'd still need that.
It's a safety issue.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Charles?
Yes, does it have just a one-time cost only, or does every
Yeah,
time,
just one.
no changing filter or anything?
As far as I know, it's one time for the device.
Sue?
Or would that be like in the contained area of some of the drugs that are? Explosives by different.
Yep, yeah, and our our main evidence room has ventilation system, and that's what it's for, so. This duct. The second thing I wanted to bring up was the, unfortunately,
Was that informational or?
oh,
It was.
Oh. All in favor, say.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Can we hear him?
So, still more.
we can talk about copiers.
There you go.
Seems to be the.
Next item.
Good. I'm
Yep,
sorry.
but we'll go after,
Okay.
to be sure.
We're notified by Hudson Headwaters that they're not interested in continuing to provide medical services. And our contract expires at the end of this year. So for 25, we had to look at alternative to provide medical. So in the jail, really, if you break it down, we have a dentist that's we contract with. We have BHU, mental health services that we contract with. And then we have medical services, which are basically PAs that come in through Hudson Headwaters. And that's what we'll be losing in 25. There are companies out there. There's very few companies out there, but there are some that provide full medical services. So they provide all those things. We kind of do it a little different. Like the county employs our own nurses. These contract companies provide nurses, medical, BHU, dentist, all that stuff. It's nice in one sense that it's kind of like a one-stop thing where you pay them and for everything, but the other side of it is you lose all control over who those employees are, and you lose control of a lot of other things that are medical related that that aren't good. There's very, like I said, there's very few. There's one in Pennsylvania. I contacted him, the owner of the company, I know him, and they weren't interested in giving us a quote because of the way that our system works, where we have it broken up and we employ the nurses and they don't employ the nurses. So for them, it wasn't worth the liability risk for them to even give us a quote. There's only a couple other companies, one that I know of that doesn't have the best reputation. So basically my question is, we do contract with Eden Services for our BHU portion of that, the medical side of the jail. They gave us a quote for providing the medical services that Hudson Headwaters has provided in the past. So I would be looking to enhance the current contract with Eden to add the medical portion. I just got the contract, or not the contract, but the, well, yeah, it is a contract, but it's called quote also, and I'll forward that to the county attorney for review. It is gonna be more. I don't know exactly how much more because this part of this, and not to be blunt forever, but part of the issue, I think, with the reason Hudson Headwaters is not gonna negotiate a new contract is the state mandate for medically assisted treatment within the jail. They're not comfortable with the new state parameters and requirements. And also they said they have a staffing issue with their company so that they're not able to do it. The Eden does include the mat services. And there is money coming for mat services through Oasis, but we just don't know how much that is based on different things in the county. One of the things is your maximum occupancy within a jail for incarcerated people. So it doesn't matter how many you have, it's how many, it's much like the staffing requirements to Commission of Corrections. It doesn't matter how many individuals you have incarcerated, it matters how many you could have and how many your jail will hold. So that funding is going to be directed in the same way, I'm assuming. So there will be funding. I just don't know how much that's going to help offset the difference in the cost. It looks like it was quite a bit. I talked with them and negotiated, and believe that it's, around 100,000 more than what I budgeted for. But I think that, with the Oasis money, I don't know how much that's gonna be. They currently give us 60,000. I'm gonna think it's gonna be at least that, so. I just don't have, I can't see into the future and see what the Oasis is gonna give us at 25.
Carol?
Two questions, please. One is, Matt, I don't understand the details on that. And then the second thing is, what's the time, what time horizon are we talking about? Are we in crisis planning mode right now?
Yeah, we have to have a contract in place by January 1st.
Okay. And then Matt, what does that entail?
So medically assisted treatment is a mandate that came down from the state where Dana, plug your ears. Regardless of whether someone comes into jail that's ever used drugs, for instance, if they're arrested for burglary and they've never had a drug abuse problem, we have to offer them Suboxone. So, it doesn't make any sense at all. Fought it. The Sheriff's Association has fought it, to no avail. So basically, we have to offer it, and we have numerous inmates that take us up on that offer, and they get a sublingual dose of Suboxone, which then becomes also bartering material within the facility. It's a mess. It's a nightmare for the state. Like I said, we are gonna get some kind of funding, but I don't know how much it's gonna be, but that's what it's for. And I think that's part of the reason that we're in the position we're in with medical providers, because they're not comfortable doing this. But there's no way,
So we're essentially gonna end up with sole source. I mean, what I'm hearing is we're very close to real sourcing.
Yeah, I don't think there's any, there's.
We end up being the sole source. We fund it all.
Well, but I mean, in terms of finding a contract, care provider that will, one is willing to do the work and assume the liability, you're gonna pay for liability. It's not free.
And I know counties our size that have contracted medical services pay 3 times as much as what we pay. Anyway, we had a really good deal with Hudson Headwater. The dentist gives us a really good deal. The Eden Center's good. It's good that they didn't have PAs now. They didn't have PAs here, but now they do. And if they didn't have PAs, then I don't know what we do.
Tony, that question.
Would they let you split the contract so that you contract with just someone to provide the managed services and then contract with Hudson Headwaters?
Ask them that, but they're just not interested in providing
Elsewhere, other providers.
medical. I think, the hospital only does, we used to contract with Glens Falls Hospital, that was just PHU. They didn't want to provide PAs either, so. Yeah, I don't think there's an alternative to what we have, what Eden Center's offering.
Melissa?
Sheriff, when we spoke yesterday, I think, so you're looking to expand the contract that you currently have with Eaton.
Yeah.
Right, to include the medical services?
Correct.
So because we already have a contract with Eaton, and we just want to expand what we currently have, then we just need to request a waiver for the procurement policy.
Yes. Yeah.
We want to do an RFP.
No. No, in my mind, that's what I'm coming forward with, is in my mind, this is enhancing an existing contract that we have. Hopefully that means that we could, do it without an RFP, because I already know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, so.
Wait, I did the other one first. So, we need to move the recognizing the JED grant to finance. We already had a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now we're on to the,
Medical stuff.
right.
Okay. We need to walk away from here, giving you the green light to move, because we're in crisis. We're gonna be saying ho, ho, ho real quick here.
He needs to
Happy
wait.
needs to
New
wait.
Year.
Needs to wait.
Yeah.
He needs to
And then
waiver
Moved
now.
by Scott?
And
Moved
I
by
can
Scott,
have,
seconded
So,
by Daryl. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And I'll make it a point to try to get, better numbers by finance. So,
Yep, run.
thank you, Bill.
Good luck, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Appreciate it.
Tony, you're up.
It's not much.
Hey, we're still less than an hour.
So the staffing issue or pattern thing that we have is in our crime victims office. The good news is for part of the chunk that I'm talking about, it is grant funded, but it still impacts our overall budgets. Laura Taylor, who has been with us since day one, has really been instrumental to getting the department where it is today, has announced her retirement effective, I think it's like January 10th. And what that is triggering, we've been looking at the job descriptions for what is expected of the people and then how we pay it. And so I can do a short story, but generally that ends up leaving key pieces out, but I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. So Laura was, as grant money came in, she started out part-time, moved into a full-time position with salary. There was a period, maybe, Al, 8 years ago, the IRS changed the requirements for salaried workers. And people had, not only did they have to have certain job titles, they had to make a certain amount of money. We converted one of the positions to a salary position. As Robin and I have looked at the office, what the job duties are, what the job descriptions are, and really what the responsibilities are, what makes most sense is to create, I gotta make sure I use the right title because I always get in trouble for not, a crime victim. So a crime victim advocate is the job description that really matches what our two non-department head people or office, or yeah, I guess department head within victim services do. There's responsibilities for meeting with victims of all sorts of crimes, from harassments to homicides and everything in between, local courts, county court. So what we're proposing is, right now we have an hourly position, a salary position. Those are fully funded by our OVS grant, Office of Victim Services grant. And then we have Robin, who's the senior. She can't be fully funded because there's managerial things that she does, grant things that she does, can't be paid by the state, and the money's not enough. So what we're proposing is to do two things. And I believe, and I've shared the numbers with Brian, I think I'm right on my numbers, but what we want to do is take the salary position and make it a competitive crime victim advocate grade 14, and make the hourly position that's currently a grade 12, change that to crime victim advocate, which would be a grade 14. We've met with Danielle in personnel. It works in her world. Based on my numbers, on our 25 budget, if we did this today, what was budgeted versus what the proposed plan would cost, I estimate about a $7,000 savings. If you look at, because we would be backfilling a position, it won't be quite that much of a savings, but it's still a little bit of a savings. And that's the short version.
Tony, did I hear the word savings?
Modest, but some, better than up. And so, but so it does two things. One, it saves a little bit. More importantly to me and Danielle is it gets the titles in line with civil service, but certainly the savings are not something that's lost on me for the chance of success.
Right, and creates the organizational structure, make your office a little bit better.
Yes. It allows the person that's doing the work to be at a title that matches what they're doing.
Correct, that's called job satisfaction.
Yes. So that's
I'll make that motion to move.
Those
Personnel.
Personnel, yeah, those two.
Moved by Daryl, second by Scott and Jim. Any further questions? Daniel?
Just one real quick, is there any union contract impact on this?
No, they're all civil service, but not.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
it's, since Laura's supervisor, sir, I would throw out, and really, she started part-time on a wing and a prayer that we could do something, and today we have 3 people that are mostly funded and due in large part to that, to a person from Easton. So we do appreciate the service that she's done to the county. Yep. And then one.
The day she went to work view, they was not fit down work good.
Yes, got one now, though.
Yeah.
Touch on the investigator. Just as, so, yes, one thing to keep in mind, so one of the challenges, because I talked briefly with Supervisor Clary, with an investigator, they're all come with experience, and any investigator we've ever been able to look at is a retired cop, they're a retired investigator. And so the investigator in our office is part-time because he can only make so much. And with that, we still have to get an exemption from the state in order to have him work 30 hours. So I think one of the issues you'll run into is even if the decision is to hire someone full-time, it's going to probably be, I would estimate it would be at the rate that the sheriff's department or state police pay, because it's going to be someone who's leaving and not retiring. Because all the part-timers do is if they're supplementing their income. It's just.
Right.
With that being said, though, if we only needed somebody to work 3 hours out of 8, and you paid them full-time at the amount they could make, that might actually be efficient. That might work.
You say that again, Brian?
Good. Well, where Charlie went, was the efficiency part of that we don't have enough work. If they would actually, someone that was retired wanted to come back at what that level was that you're capped at, that with the benefits would probably fit under that $50,000. If you had someone that was willing to do that was retired.
But the issue is the full-time, and they're not gonna do it for full-time when they can. Because they're
They have
downtime.
full-time work, is what we said, so they would put in their time and they'd still fit under the actual salary.
I think there's an issue though with when you advertise, you have to say that you've tried to hire someone full-time and you can't get them, that's why you're hiring. There's issues with, it's an interesting process that we have to go through to hire a part-time person. That's
Someone that retired, that's the
Yes.
issue, right? If you've retired and
Right.
then come back to public safety, you
Yes.
have to prove or show that you've tried to recruit.
Well,
A full-time
because
person.
Nobody will take it at 50,000. So that'll be easy.
Thank you.
So, and then one last thing, but it's just so when it comes, it's not a surprise. So we have, with the sheriff's department, with Axon and the state police using Axon body cameras. Terry and I have been working with Axon, who I think is the name you guys are familiar with. There is going to be some, we have to contract with them for certain portions of our discovery services. Terry and I have them willing to have it be a 6-month, like we'll start right away in the new year, but we won't formally contract with them until July. So it'll be a half a year. Under our discovery money, we'll have money to pay, but the reality of that, it's about a $7,000 cost, but we have to take some action today, or not literally today, but in the coming weeks. So there's grant money out there, but it's gonna be one of those things that we have to utilize them to be able to get the information from where it's held to where it needs to be.
I was gonna say, you just made yourself a wash. You cut the 7,000 you were gonna say.
No, because this would be money from the state, it's the great giver of our, but it's the discovery grant.
Go on my credit card now.
Won't be enough.
You'll need that to pay your taxes, don't worry.
Yes, I just ate up the savings.
Yeah.
Yes. So at least I brought that kind of savings and Terry got us to that dollars. But I'll
Okay.
support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate it.
you're up, Glenn. Morning.
Morning.
We're requesting a waiver to the purchase policy. As I had brought up previously, the communications state contract that we use. The state didn't renew it before it expired, so they're still in the
renewing phase. So there's currently no state contract. Rockland County put out an RFP for contracted services, which is essentially the exact same wording as the state contract. So because this falls under best value, we're requesting a waiver so we can use that contract.
Dovetail on Rockland County's contract.
It is open to every municipality in here.
I'll move that. I'll make a motion.
Moved by Daryl, seconded by Scott. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you. We're requesting to surplus our 1990 FL7 Freightliner, our yellow hazmat truck.
I'm sorry, I've seen it.
It's a good truck. It only has 8,000 miles on it. It has a cascade system. We just don't use it enough to keep it. No, we don't need the cascade system to fill air bottles. Back in the day, we used to respond to every structure fire to fill air bottles for the fire departments. Now most fire departments can do that job themselves. I'd like to surplus it and place it on the auction. And then our ultimate plan would be get a pickup truck similar to what the foreman have. So we can pull our trailer that would replace or carry the equipment that's on the truck.
Moved by Nate, seconded by Scott and Daryl. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Going along with my vehicle bullet, just an advisement with our Homeland Security grant, our most recent one. We're moving forward to purchase a UTV with the sheriff's office through that grant, which was part of the approved spending plan. And we're just moving along. That'll be a vehicle that'll be used for both sheriff's office needs and public safety needs, such as going up to towers or whatever that case may be. I was gonna have more for the tow trucks, but just so you're aware, we received a verbal request for an addition to the tow rotation. Not yet received their completed packet, so I have nothing to bring to you. I just didn't wanna skip over it. Couple others, EMS advisory, this just happened last week after we had put in the schedule. Cambridge Valley is requesting to nominate Peter Semino to replace Mr. Spezio. And our Argyle Emergency Squad is putting in Mr. Ed Parker to replace Donna Ray Brown for the EMS advisory. I can get all the proper spellings to you then.
We have a motion.
I'll move that.
Moved by Daryl, seconded by Jim and Scott. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
I spoke with Verizon Wireless this morning regarding Big Birch Hill. They're still waiting for final FAA approval for the construction. Apparently, depending on however things with the tower location, so on and so forth, the FAA either reviews it or it goes out to a national public notice. For whatever reason, this went out to a national public notice. They don't tell the Verizon why it does, but it does. That public notice period doesn't close until January. We can't start construction until that's done. So at this point, the construction is gonna be, they're gonna put out the contract for the construction in December. But construction on that tower won't start until first quarter of next year.
Weather pending.
Weather pending. And then the final, the new shelter up on Willard has been constructed. Or in the phase of doing interior work at this point. If they start making snow, it's gonna be difficult to get up there. It's a far cry from what we have right now, which is falling apart. I appreciate the board's process, letting us go ahead with that. And I also wish to thank DPW because they did all the site work to get the foundation and the rock up there, which is driving up Willard in itself is a process, let alone trying to get crushed stone up there.
Any other questions for Glenn? Anything else to come before the Public Safety Committee?
Thank you.
All right, we're adjourned.
Okay, we'll call the Health and Human Services Committee meeting to order. Yes, sir. And the first order of business is to accept the minutes of the October 30th, 2024 meeting.
Move it. Second.
Moved by Sam, second by Scott. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Department reports, EOC lead, Shelley.
Morning.
Morning.
Yeah, well, maybe if anybody wants them, if they're kind of duplicate, but I brought them with me just in case. Morning, I'm just here today to, the resolution that I have put forth is to renew the contract that LEAP has with, Washington County for food pantry support. Last year, well, we had previous years an ongoing contract. We redid it last year to be visited annually. Last year's contract was $42,020 that Washington County supports the LEAP food pantry. We're asking for a renewal this year for the calendar year of 2025 in the amount of $40,000. I have with me financials, if you want them, they're the same ones I presented at last month's meeting, so there's no difference, but if you want to see them, and I do have copies of the proposed contract as well. No change except for the $2,020 difference from last year.
So we be moving it to finance.
Yes.
Some of it.
Second. And Carol seconds, discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait a minute, Al.
So question for clerk of the board, does this have to go through finance? They're not looking for money, just chairman's signature.
And money's all budgeted, right?
Money's all
Yeah.
budgeted for
So
25.
I don't believe we need to send it to finance.
Okay,
Just for clarity, sir, sorry.
okay. So motion and second has been clarified. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very
That's all I
much.
have for you today.
Okay. Youth Bureau, Sue.
We knew that.
We're gonna be just as quick.
Yeah. I'll go with yes. Okay, the first one is permission to hold Winterfest. We just started the planting process, or planning, not planting, planning process for Winterfest. And we usually, the only expenses that we generally have, because all of the other departments work closely with us for that event, is the porta potties and if they decide to have the horse and wagon, that is a cost. We do have $1,500 budgeted in our budget for this coming year. It will be, as far as I know, the first Saturday in February.
I'll move it, Chairman.
Second. Sam, second by Joe. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. And I will pass. This is the funding part. I'm not sure if that.
So we have ice.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful to have ice and snow.
Anyone else need one?
I'm good, sir.
You good? Get you a very good copy.
Thank you. So the next item is permission to submit the resource allocation plan. And this funding chart is part of the resource allocation plan that goes to OCFS. And these are the YDP funding, the Youth Development Program funding chart, the Youth Sports and Education funding, and the Youth Team Sports funding. And part of the process is for the Youth Advisory Committee to meet to take a look at all of the programs that we suggested funding and with the funding amounts. And then they approve, and then it comes before the committee for us to submit the RAP. And then once the state approves the funding, then we would contract with the municipals and or programs with the dollar amount that's allocated. A few changes for this year. The town and village municipal dollars will remain the same as what they had been for last year. The total allocation for YDP was slightly less, by like $1,000 from last year. But the main difference is for the YDP community programs that we've funded. In the past, we've funded or subsidized our community service program out with for $11,300. We took those out because really we don't see a significant number of youth in that program. And we thought that it would be better served if we could enhance our PYD parks program that we were funded last year. We did some work at Derby Park with the police department. And this year we're hoping to bring it a little bit, get Whitehall Rec or Whitehall Booster Club to kind of get some things going once a week in the evening for youth in Whitehall, and or do the same process for Granville. Only because the Whitehall and Granville it's tied into the truancy rates. So we thought that those could be two towns that we could focus our efforts. So that's the major difference for the YDP community programs would be adding dollars to the parks PYD.
So essentially the sheriff's department then, given the fact of the state of our village PDs. So really the sheriff will, the assumption is the sheriff will now, Washington County Sheriff will step into that role.
For what? I'm sorry.
For the parks piece.
Oh, the PYD. So we initially put dollars in for last year for the Derby Park because the Hudson Falls PD had contacted us and they were having a lot of issues with vandalism and the youth within the park. So we kind of developed a program that ran once or twice a week for a set number of weeks to engage those kids that traditionally had been the ones damaging. We incorporated community restoration into the park. So if the PD had a kid that they were going to kick out of the park, they would do community restoration within the park to remain having access. So that was really specific to the needs of Hudson Falls and Derby Park on why we targeted that. In Whitehall, we know that beyond, like in the evening hours, we know that there's a gap in what's available. Whitehall Rec is great. They have open access from 4 to 8, but there's some programs in other parts of the county that really get more kids for a short duration, like a 2-hour span. And we don't want to provide those services from year to year. So we really want to work with an organization in Whitehall to kind of build that up. So for the first year, it would be kind of like, getting them ready to just take it on and be committed to providing something in Whitehall, something bigger in Whitehall, maybe some, they have new pickleball courts, maybe it's, having a youth pickleball league, something. But we know we're going to have to build that value with some of those organizations. So we don't want to provide the service for the rest of our lives. We want to build within the community to try to get that going so that they'll take it on, if that makes sense.
Yes,
so the sheriff's department really, although tying the sheriff's department in when we're up at the park or in Whitehall is a great, connection. Whitehall doesn't seem to have the same issues like vandalism and things within the rec program or at the rec as what Hudson Falls Derby Park had. So that's the idea behind using these funds to support that enhancement for the parks.
Thank you for that clarification. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion?
So we do have, there are a few changes. The RHY the reason it's blank for Weight House 1 and RHYA 2 is we really don't have the final numbers from the state as far as the breakout. And RHYA 1 supports the crisis services at the White House, and RHYA two supports the transitional independent living portion. We just don't have that dollar amount. However, we have the total allocation and we know what has been allowed for our Youth Bureau administration dollars. So that's the reason those are blank. And then our youth sports and education opportunity funding. This year, they no longer had this specific infrastructure dollars of 10,344 like they had last year. So that's a bit of a reduction. And then the youth team sports funding was a bump up about $485 for this year. We are again, we have been told that if the Southern Adirondack High School Clay Target Association were to submit another application in which they got denied last year, that the state would consider it. And we're hopeful that they will approve it this year. Thank you, Supervisor Hankey, for that. So they again applied this year for the 24,440, and we're hoping that it will get approved this year. There's a few other youth bureaus that are allocating or attempting to allocate funds to shooting sports with it throughout the county. So that's really the only changes. So I would need permission. There's no longer, there used to be a form that the state required for the supervisor to sign off, but I no longer need the form. So it's just permission to send in our resource allocation plan.
Motion made by Stan, second by Darrell. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you. Our next item is the Warren County contract, and this is just an informational item that we did sign the Warren County contract for $213,000 for program year 10/1/24 to 9/30/25 with the potential renewal. And then my final information is we recently have a vacated position, which was our youth program coordinator position title, and which is at a grade 14. And that's the only title that we had within our office that had that youth program coordinator title. And since it's vacated, it allowed us to take a look at the job duties and description and what we could move to senior program specialist. And I would like permission to change the staffing pattern to eliminate the youth program coordinator position and add a program specialist position, which is one of the titles that we have within our office. It's a different pay grade, so it goes from a 14 to a 13 pay grade, and it does allow us potentially to move people based on their strengths if needed, because it isn't specifically focused to youth work. So I would like permission to move it forward. I have discussed it with Danielle, and she's, said that it probably makes sense to take a look at it now.
I'll make that motion. So it would move to personnel. Yep. Second, Sam and Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for looking at that universal concept within the staff.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Hey, OFA ADRC, Gina.
There's a one.
I know, it's like.
It's hard to tell the weather out.
Today, I'd like to speak with you about our restaurant dining program. It's simply informational. Since I released the agenda items, I realized that I don't need to necessarily request a professional waiver for this. And I can go ahead and engage with it in agreements on my own. So, but I do want to bring to your attention the information about some changes that are happening with the program, simply because I believe that some Washington County residents may have some questions around it. So the sheet that I gave you really goes into great detail about what's going to transpire within the next year. So I'd like to start by talking about the restaurant dining program and how it is a special partnership between our office and with local restaurants. It is an innovative program that's funded by county dollars as well as contributions. The mission of the program is to increase older adult opportunities for socialization and community engagement, to ensure nutritional needs are met, and provide a stronger bond between local businesses, our county, and the older adults in our community. Participating in the program at this current time is Market 32 in Port Edward, Price Chopper in Granville, Sally's Hen House in Hudson Falls, Cabin Cafe in Hudson Falls, and Johnson's Cabin Grill in Hartford. For clarity's sake, I really want to emphasize that this program is separate than our senior dining sites, also known as our congregate meal sites. The changes that we're looking to implement and the redesign of the program up in the next year includes removing the 1/3 recommended daily allowance, to remove the ability for restaurants to use these tickets, senior dining tickets, as discount coupons, and instead focus on a specified menu, to increase the reimbursement to our restaurants. They're currently getting paid $6 per meal or ticket that's turned in, and we're looking to increase that to $8 per meal or ticket that's turned in, and that is incorporated into our 2025 budget. And lastly, we're looking at the best way to sustain this program, and this is one of the big changes, where currently my department is in discussion on whether or not we should continue to just see contributions, or if we should transition to a cost-based system. If we do move to a cost-based system, we will be seeking a small fee of approximately $2 to $3 per ticket. So our current system now is we ask for a suggested contribution of $4 per ticket. So again, if anybody should have any questions around the upcoming transition to the redesign of the program, please have them reach out to myself or to any of my staff members.
Gina, what is the level of participation in this program?
So that's a good question. So I did bring my data sheet, so I can have it. In comparison, so in 2023, we issued 1,703 tickets, and in 2024, we've issued 1,135 tickets. So that's the issuing of them. So it's the redeem part is what comes into question. So even though we issue that amount of tickets, not all of them get turned in. And so for them that are getting, right now, I can share with you that in 2024, we have outstanding 507 tickets.
Yeah, so question. So maybe I'm understanding this wrong. So we use a donation part, then everybody can participate. If we go to a fee part, if you can't afford the $4 as a senior, you don't need to go.
So to clarify, right now it is voluntary contribution. And when you average out what people are contributing, it's about right now between all tickets, it's around $2.20 per ticket. There are people that don't contribute, and there are people that contribute, and it's $4. The contribution is the suggested amount. There are people that will contribute up to $6. per ticket. So if we move to the cost service, then we're looking at it being $2 to $3 per ticket. So it would be less than the $4. And the reason being, is by putting that structure in place, then we're able to manage it a little bit more. That way we know the money is coming in, we know how many tickets we can issue per month or per year. Right now, we're kind of, we issue the tickets, but we never know necessarily what people are gonna contribute. And so the financial piece is always something that's a continuous monitoring, continuous discussion. We haven't fully decided to go to that level of asking for a fee versus a contribution. And I'm welcome for ideas or thoughts all around that.
So then, if you move that thing, then my concept is right. If they can't afford $2, $3, $4 for the ticket, then they don't participate.
Correct.
Yeah, there could be.
Yeah, I think that's.
Nate, how do these seniors get these tickets?
Good question. To be eligible for the program, an individual has to be 60 years of age or older and a Washington County resident. Again, this program is very unique to our county. It's not offered in counties that are close proximity to us. And they would just need to come to our office and.
So they have to come out here to the county to get the tickets.
We have a registration packet that it needs to be completed. So when you say they have to come to us, we just have to have a level of communication with them. So if they can't drive here, we would find a way to give them the paperwork or send them the paperwork and then get that paperwork back to our office.
And how many tickets do they get in a year? Is there a limit?
So there's not really a limit.
Are there repeat uses?
So with a ticket, there's a lot of rules established around them. So if you're talking about repeat users, absolutely. We see a lot of people, because individuals are required to register, we're able to see who does utilize it. In terms of using a ticket, one of the rules and guidelines around the use of the tickets is they can use one ticket per day. We have the person's name on the ticket, so when the tickets get turned into us from the restaurants for their permission for payment, then we go down and make sure that people are following it, and so they're only using the ticket one time per day at the participating restaurants.
So, I saw at the bottom that you're looking for restaurants like these.
Correct.
My question is that, often they're only open three days a week. I know that profit wise, the days have to be open more. So like our Rotary Club has contracted with Salem Tavern for a Monday night, which is not under the DOH deadlines, but it still allows for them to make profit. Be open, but not open to the public.
All right, so it was the Rotary with the tavern.
Railroad Street Tavern. I'm wondering if you do the same thing like with the senior citizens, okay, Tuesday night, when meals are available.
So I definitely would like to have a conversation with you because you just made me think of some ideas. So right now, the tickets, the reason for putting this out there is that some of the restaurants are using the tickets simply as a discount. So when somebody presents the coupon, they're not given a menu per se, but the business is just using it as like a minus $6 off whatever meal that they want on the menu. That's created a lot of confusion because first off, when we explain the program to the participants, we say that there's a set menu. So, so then individuals they take the ticket, they think that it can be used for a discount and take it to another restaurant, participating restaurant, and then they're told, no, you only have this certain set menu. We are removing the recommended daily allowance simply because restaurants have expressed to us that the cost of food is very high. And so we are leaving it up to the restaurants to develop and design the menu that works for them financially. And it can be, offering a lunch, breakfast, and dinner, or one of the meals. If they offer specials, we would say that they would just let us know and we can publicize that out for the participating users. They can know what to expect when they arrive to the restaurant ahead of time.
Is there any provision for somebody that wanted to buy these tickets as gifts to their relatives or anything like that? That's something that can be done.
We do require that each ticket user register. So if somebody wants to cover the cost, we do ask that they have the recipient complete the paperwork, so that way we can put them into our system. So it would be a whole packet of.
I think that might slow things down a little bit, but it's a good program, I think.
Good questions.
So you'll be coming back again once you get your schedule put together or your fee schedule or how you.
Would you like me to?
I would personally.
Absolutely.
You did have some data on 2024 unused tickets, but you have it on 2023 as well,
They do 247
unused.
unused.
You offer these in place of a Meals on Wheels, like if someone said, going out to lunch with my lady friends on Thursday, send the tickets over on Wednesday, and that way they could forego their meal on Thursday.
So there are home delivered meals and the restaurant dining are very different and, so that can happen. If the person is a registered user of the program, they definitely could pause their meals for that day and then go out for lunch. We see that happen frequently.
Asking for a waiver request.
Initially, I was under the impression that I needed to, but after speaking to county administration and purchasing, I learned that given the parameters of this program, that a waiver was necessary. So the waiver request will be my next topic.
Okay.
So please reach out to me. Correct.
Okay.
And again, I feel like if we put some of these parameters out there, that there may be questions in the community, and so it was best to share that. We should have that.
Thank you.
The next topic I have is a request for a professional waiver, and that is with Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York. Right now, Office for Aging is provided through NYSOPA federal Title III-B funds that are specifically focused for legal services. At this current time, we do have an agreement in place with Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York for the provision of legal services. And the eligibility for legal services is that an individual has to be a Washington County resident, age 60 or older. Some of the services that Legal Aid Society has provided to us are wills, healthcare proxies, power of attorneys, and deed transfers. The reason why I'm bringing this today is because Legal Aid Society is very unique. Right now, they operate under several grants, and they also oversee a private attorney endowment program, which is basically a panel of attorneys that volunteer their time to provide legal services and consultations to individuals. And so the benefit of this partnership with Legal Aid Society allows us to refer individuals seeking legal services to Legal Aid Society. They then screen the individual and they see which grant or which program best meets the needs of the individual. So everybody that we refer may not necessarily fall under our grant. Makes sense. Their program, again, is a great asset just because we can serve more people with legal services with the structure that they currently have in place. And just to give you a heads up, the funding that we provide Legal Aid Society, or the funding that we have available for legal services, really only supports 0.001% of the true cost of their services. At this time, Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York is asking for a rate increase. Right now, we pay them $12,000 a year. We've been paying them $12,000 a year since I've been in this position since 2012. So I don't know when it changed prior to 2012. At this time, they're looking for a $6,000 increase to $18,000. Our 2025 budget was approved to accommodate the $6,000 increase. because Legal Aid Society is unique in its service provision, again, I'd like to ask permission for a professional waiver to engage in a new agreement with Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York.
Chairman, I'll move the waiver. Second.
Question. Do you use that all that money gets utilized, is it almost like a retainer approach? They pay per,
So so we take right now it's the $12,000 and we divide that up 4 times a year.
okay, so it's more of a
Right, so
retainer
it's-
approach, so, okay.
Interesting terminology.
Any other discussion?
One other question. Do we know what the utilization rate is on that service?
So we do track the people that we refer and actually fall under our program funding. So in terms of all the referrals, I'm not sure. I can tell you that just because the referral that we make to them, then they'll say, for instance, if it falls under the PAI, the Private Attorney Involvement Program, then they'll shift it that way. So we wouldn't collect the data on the other end from that referral.
To make it simpler, I guess the question is, how many referrals do you make a year? That's to the.
I did bring it. I'm just trying to shuffle. Okay, here we go. So from April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2024, they served 32 people with 132 hours of service. In the previous program year, so it's April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2023, they served 24 people with 102 hours of service.
Average salary.
Any other
To a
discussion?
standard legal fee per hour. So what we're saying is, I guess what we're saying is encourage utilization. And maybe it might be a factor of awareness to the general people who are eligible. It's not income based, is it? It's just age.
Correct. And so that's the unique structure, is that a lot of the programs or grants that Legal Aid Society does work under is based by income. So when they get somebody that we refer and the person meets that income eligibility, they shift that person under one of their other funding sources.
Sure. I'm just looking at it as a pure metric of referral to them for our cost.
Most bang for our buck.
Right. I'm glad that we don't have a need for more legal services, but there is a need, there's lack of education about the fact that this exists. And people can take advantage of it should they need legal services.
I did put an article in our Community Connections newspaper earlier this year. And it was my fault because I didn't notify Legal Aid Society that I had done that. And the referrals just they elevated beyond what was manageable. So at this point, I'm going to be more.
Good for you.
So when you say that, getting the word out, I didn't do that.
Is that why
and
they
it
went
almost
18,000?
backfired.
Why didn't you say it back? That's, they need to
because
help.
what
We're paying for it. Let's use it.
This is true, but they assigned one attorney to work under our program, and that attorney then got, so I guess backfired, but it also evolved their program, because now they realized that they added some more screeners, people screening on their end,
Right.
to really try to move the individuals as quick as they could, and by backfired is that people had to wait a couple months to get serviced. They really had hoped to have it, have the service a lot sooner than what they had received. I just literally, while I was sitting here waiting to talk today, received a text from, I'm not going to mention the county, but from a local director of a AAA in New York State. And she just mentioned that ironically has a fee that their budget line is 26,000 for legal services. And they literally went through that 26,000 with a private attorney, didn't make it the whole year. It was a short period of time. So that again, really, for me, I appreciate the fact that Legal Aid Society is close proximity to us and is willing to work with us.
Thank you for that advertisement. By that advertisement means we're maximizing the opportunity for our seniors to get services that they need, so stick with it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Community service with mental health, Rob? Yeah.
I just have one informational item. The New York State Office of Mental Health has made some funding available for what they're calling a court-based court-based mental health navigator. Okay, so these are individuals that will work within the court system and work with our alternatives to incarceration programs to specifically work with individuals with serious mental illness. And I don't have, we haven't received the actual award yet, so I'm not coming to request a budget amendment or anything like that. We anticipate the funding will be coming in the beginning of 2025. And the county will be receiving, I believe, approximately $65,000. What I've done is organize some meetings with the district attorney's office, the public defender's office, Sue's office, and assigned counsel. And those offices will all be working together with this court-based navigator. I guess our hope is that, be able to reduce some of the recidivism. Some individuals just kind of repeatedly get caught in the criminal justice system. These would be mostly lower level offenders. And but we do think that potentially it could have an impact also on those 730 expenses, because some of those people are people who do recidivate and repeat offend. So that's really it. I make you aware that that funding is coming, and we'll be looking at amending the budget early 2025.
Congratulations. Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
Public health, Tina?
Keep that one, Tina.
She's gonna take care of the jail for us.
Okay, first thing I have a request for an overnight stay for our public health specialist to attend the 2025 Integrated Care Conference. It's out in Syracuse. It's on Monday, April 7th to Tuesday, April 8th. And the cost of the conference and the travel expenses are estimated at about $950, and it's 100% funded through our public health infrastructure grant. So just looking for approval there.
Approve, Sam, second, Scott. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have had a couple new members that I'd like to request to be on our professional advisory committee. Jacob Scott, he's the principal sanitarian with the New York State Department of Health Glens Falls District Office. We'd like to request him to be on our professional advisory committee. And then we also have a change. Carrie Charette, who was the North Country Director of Patient Services with HCR. She is no longer available to be on our committee. So we'd like to have Benedicta Madeo replace her on our professional advisory committee. So just looking for permission to make those changes.
Motion made by Scott, second. Nate, any discussion?
I just have a discussion. So did I understand you say that Jacob worked for public health?
He works for the Glens Falls District Office. He's on the environmental side.
So there'd be no conflict there with him being on anything he'd be overseeing or
No.
inspections for you guys?
Yep.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes.
The next thing I have, I was very excited last month to announce that we were fully staffed. I won't do that again. I think it was the next day.
You jinxed yourself.
So I live and learn there. But we did have a resignation of our senior preschool service coordinator. And I'd like to request a staffing pattern change to remove the senior and replace it with a preschool service coordinator. So it is a lower grade. It's a grade 16. The seniors are grade 16, the preschool service coordinators are grade 14. It's approximate savings of around $4,200. So I'd like to request that staffing pattern change.
So moved.
Move it to personnel. Any discussion?
Yeah, so you've already read through Danielle with this? and
Yes.
You don't anticipate any immediate need to have to go back and change it after you,
No.
because of new hire or whatever the case. may be.
Right.
Okay. Got it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
The next item, just under program updates, we would like to advertise or promote emergency preparedness using Lamar advertising on billboards in Washington County. We do have the approval from the state to move forward with those billboards. They're 100% funded under a public health preparedness grant, and it would help in meeting one of our deliverables for that grant for public outreach. So just looking for permission to move forward with those billboards, and it's a maximum amount of $5,000.
It's in the budget and everything.
Scott?
Yeah, I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. And then we did receive notification from the New York State Association of County Health Officials that they are issuing a mini grant application. They received funding from the New York State Department of Health. We would like to apply for that funding. It's a mini grant, so it's it would be a max of between $3,000 and $5,000, and the focus would be on climate change adaptation. So just looking for approval to apply for that grant.
There's no match.
No.
Motion by Sam, second by Scott. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oops. Motion passes.
That's all I have.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Good luck finding a billboard in Washington County. I think Fort Ann and Whitehall are the only two towns.
I think that's where we're headed. Thank you.
Other business, Tammy, I think, wants to say something quickly.
Yeah, I won't even sit down, okay? I have something that I'd like to hand out to all the board members. Opportunity to be able to come to our office, spend some time with our workers. Is something that we've done in the past. Modifying it a little bit this time, offering you the opportunity to be able to go out in the field with staff. Meet with staff in the office. You could also ask to meet with me specifically to talk about any of the programs that you have interest with, just making it more amenable to whatever your wishes might be. It comes, the idea to do that or to roll it out at this point, it comes from, I had the opportunity last night to talk with the Governor's Youth Advisory Board. They were, their focus was food insecurity, and so it occurred to me at that time, talking with them about things that are just so known here at social services. Talking about it with the general public, it highlights the things that our staff are faced with every day when they're helping these folks. I often talk about regulations when I'm here, and I talk about homelessness and foster care a lot, but the impacts of working with such issues, and how that impacts that turnover, the reality of what it's like when you're working with the families and serving the families that we have in our communities. I wanted to give the board members an opportunity to see what that's like within our office. So please consider it. There isn't any time limit to it. You could probably roll through all of the programs if you'd like to. And you could do it in a couple of months, or you can do it this month if you'd like to. So, although we're running out of time.
Yeah, so Timmy, yeah, there's no concern or no issue with So what's the word I'm looking for?
Confidentiality.
Confidentiality.
We will have you sign a confidentiality.
You remember probably 5 years ago, maybe, that you did like a day in the life of a.
Yes,
trying to get
we
through
did a
the process.
simulation. Yep, yep, poverty
And-
simulation.
And a lot of us, as town supervisors, went to it, and I can remember a lot of them going out the door, that they learned a lot, they had no idea.
Right,
They didn't realize the amount of steps that needed to be taken,
yes,
and so thank you for doing this.
sure, you're welcome. Yeah, that is a very moving activity. I'd love to have that back at some point. That is something that we pay for through our training track.
So well done.
It was good. Any other questions? Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Any other business? Motion adjourned?